recording.
So this is Creatures of the Night.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
Thank you for joining us.
Good, we did that.
You missed a whole conversation about how amazing zodiacs were.
Yeah, just more us bitching and complaining about who we were born in to be.
Yeah, right. Instead of who we wanted to be, but,
Which is like a unicorn. I don't know.
I like mermaids too.
Mermaids.
They're awesome. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in for the first time ever, I'm a Gemini and Wendy is a Pisces. And we were just having this whole conversation about our zodiacs and where we are in life and our horoscopes and things like that. So,
You know what it's like, over analyzing shit, trying to find excuses for them. It's easy to do that with a zodiac, especially when you match up so much with your sign. Like 100%. You feel like, oh my God, that's me. That's me. The good and the bad.
Right. You read that stuff and you're like, no. I'm not always focusing on the positive. Wait, what is that? Is that a happy dog out there? That's awesome. That's a sweet little dog out there. Oh my God. Yes, that's right. That's what Geminis do. They're like, I'm angry at you because you pissed me off. And then something amazing happens and it's like, cool, whatever. I don't care about angry dude anymore. Everything's fine.
You would think that Pisces are like that, or like they're positive people. And I find that they are, personally, I find that they are not. I feel like they're so indebted to their emotions that when you make them mad or when you wrong them, that's it. That's the end. I don't know who you are anymore.
Is that true? Because I feel like that's how you are with Geminis too. But then again, when I read my horoscope, I'm like, yeah, no, we're super forgiving. You can piss me off and I'm just right back to you. It's cool. Everything's fine.
So what I've read is that you are like, you will forgive in minutes, hours, days.
It's fine. Everything's
Mine is more like months.
But eventually you will be forgiven.
Yes, I am like, that's it. You're dead to me. You're cut off and we're done. And then you come at me and you tell me your reasons why. And I'm like, that makes sense. Okay. Or we just have a good day. And I'm like, I like this person again.
That's funny because when you say that, it sounds like you're describing a Gemini because it's the same thing. It's only, you're talking months. It takes a month or so to get there. Me, I get that text from you. I'm like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. Everything's fine again. I misread that. I think basically what it comes down to is that Geminis are very overreactive. We're overreactive. I assume the worst as soon as I see it, hear it, feel it. And then when you explain yourself to me, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, that makes sense. I was being a lunatic. And everything's fine again. But I don't know if that's a good thing or not because I do really feel like sometimes I'm being drawn to the dark side and I hate everything and I want to slash tires. And then it's like flowers and rainbows. It's like this constant battle. But with Pisces, you take a couple of months to actually dwell upon your feelings and how this happened and what the occurrence was and all of this.
When are we not dwelling on our feelings? That's the problem. We take so much time to think about our feelings and everyone's feelings, and there's so much thought involved in feelings. And so it just takes time to process. But once the person makes you feel good again, you're like, this feels good. I like feeling good.
Right.
All is forgiven.
But it just takes a little bit longer, I guess, to achieve that moment. Whereas with the Gemini, it's like, could be 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
What is that? Water sign versus, I don't know what the Gemini is. Is it earth? What is earth? Air? Is it earth? Is there actually an earth sign?
There's earth, air, and water.
And fire.
I don't think there's any actual fire signs.
Oh, no. I thought there was a fire. I thought there was 4 of them. Earth, air.
Oh, we better Google that. No. There's definitely 4 elements. They're earth, wind, and fire. And
I feel like I'm
a
earth.
Gemini.
I always thought it was air, but I think it's earth. Is it air?
Hold on.
It's going to be air.
We're holding out for my slow reading.
I'm a Gemini. I can't do that. Either she hates me now or everything is fine. I can't
You're
deal with
an
this.
air sign.
I'm an air! That makes so much sense. I hate being a Gemini. I'm just going to put that out there for the podcast.
Well, being a pain. Being a Pisces is pretty painful as well.
I don't know what other zodiac though I'd like to switch to. I mean, I guess I'd need to take a look at like the presidents or the people that are on in the politics and see where their birthdays lay, because those people, some of them seem to have their shit together. And
in politics,
yeah,
I don't know,
sure.
but yes, somebody very successful.
Yeah.
If you were like, what's Oprah's
Right.
zodiac sign? I want to be just like her.
I bet none of them
That
are
type thing.
Geminis. I'm going to tell you that right now. I know Marilyn Monroe was a Gemini, and I was all like, oh, yay, she's crazy like me.
That's not a helpful sign.
Right, exactly.
I'm pretty sure Albert Einstein and I share a birthday.
I'm looking up Oprah right now. I have to, because you brought her up. Here we go. Oprah's birthday. January 29th, which is not a Capricorn. It's a sign after Oprah, Gail Winfrey, Aquarius. I love Aquarius. Okay, so going back to what we were just saying, I think Aquarius is a sign that I would prefer to be, because they seem to not give a fuck the most of all of the signs that are out there. And that is 100% the sign that I should have been born in February. The sign of I don't give a shit. I'll do me. I do me.
That's a good one. I think I'll go with that one too. I kind of like being a ridiculous Pisces.
You like it though?
We have really cool dreams. I don't know if I'm the only Pisces that's like that, but I don't know. It makes for an entertaining sleep.
I can't wait to go and have another entertaining sleep.
I love sleeping.
I do too, but I just love sleeping. I mean, I just love the whole snuggling down into bed. I put on my super awesome dreaming lavender lotion. I spray my pillow. I get all of my...
You don't ever go to bed and just be excited for like what you might think of while you're asleep?
Sure. I put all my mojo bags out next to my bed.
Terrible nightmare.
I do. No, I don't have a lot of terrible nightmares. I get really excited because my dreams are very vivid. I have a very vivid imagination, and I like scary stuff anyways. I do. I like haunted, unless you didn't know that already by joining our podcast.
Yeah, we don't just talk about zodiac signs and
right.
stuff. It's not one of those hippie podcasts. Calm down.
It might be.
We got paranormal stories for you.
Right.
Too.
As paranormal stories go, I also really like my paranormal dreams. I love those dreams. Those are my favorite, where I'm ghost hunting or I'm having a paranormal experience. So, especially if it ties into one of the locations we've been to, because I'm always like, did that mean something? Was there something else there that was trying to get a hold of me? What is that? Why am I still thinking about this place / experience / whatever?
Yeah, I've never had that.
No?
I've had dreams of us investigating places, but it tends to be places that we've never seen, or there's only one time it was it was a Bell Witch. It's the Bell Witch Cave.
Yeah, in Tennessee.
That's the only one that I knew the name of. Other than that, it's like, this is a creepy building, and I don't know the name of it, and that's all it is. But I did dream of investigating the Bell Witch cabin, and we've never done that.
No, we haven't.
No. And it was pretty extreme in the dreams. I'd love one day to go to see if that happens, if it comes to fruition. Except for the fact that in the dream I was pregnant. I don't really want that.
Oh, we absolutely one day have to go there. We don't have to do that while you're pregnant, though. We can just skip that.
No, I've had my babies. I'm done with that.
I've had dreams of us being back at the Limp. Lots of dreams of being back at the Limp, and especially the cemetery at the Limp. The Bellefontaine Cemetery. I had to sneak a peek at the poster behind me. And that was one of the reasons why I got it, because that place was just so hypnotic to me. That's the only word that I can best describe it as. When you go to a place and it just draws you in and you can't stop thinking about it, and to the point where you're dreaming about it, and while you're doing your day-to-day and you're thinking about it, it was hypnotic. That was a cemetery that I'd never felt that kind of a presence, and I'd experienced it in my dreams over and over again. And each time, Wendy, both of us were there in each of those dreams, and something else happened. So it was almost like, Chris, you need to go back. You need to go back to St. Louis, Missouri. Sure, why not? Because St. Louis is such an exotic destination. We need to...
St. Louis is fun. Don't knock that. And I'm on board. Anytime you want to go, we go stay at the Limp Mansion again because it was so fucking cool. And the food was great and the area was awesome. I loved it.
It was an experience like none other, for sure.
Maybe you can get tours of the actual brewery too.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
Not by creeps that just meet you in the parking lot and tell you they're doing a photo shoot. Oh my God. Happened as well. Where everyone that is near the Limp Brewery that is closed down.
Right.
Somebody pulls up to you and it's just like, we're doing a photo shoot over here. You want to come over here? No, you do not.
No. And Wendy and I were both like, yeah, we shouldn't do this. And I'm like, it's okay. I have knives. So if this guy comes any closer, we can take him.
Yeah, we let him approach us, and then as he was like, do you want to come over here? I think both of us was like, get the fuck out of here. I mean, it was just like, no, sir, we ain't stupid.
We were friendly to the point where we were talking to you, but we did not let that politeness go on. You need to peace out.
Fuck politeness. You can get out of here.
100%.
So that's what you got to be cautious when you're out there investigating areas that are abandoned buildings or whatever. Watch out for those, not the non-living, the living. They're a problem.
I think that's what this podcast really is. It's more of like a PSA for watching out for those that are among us. They are the ones that you need to fear.
You want to get your creep on and talk to ghosts and stuff like that, but beware of those living beings around you because they are a mess.
Yeah. They're not cool.
Anyways, do you want me to tell you a story?
What you got?
Well, I got absolutely no lead in to this story, just so you know. It's got nothing to do with zodiacs or strange humans that are still alive. I have no lead in for this story at all. I honestly just found this location surfing the internet, as I do for haunted locations all the time, just out of curiosity. You know,
just look around on the internet.
Most haunted blah, blah, blahs, and I read about all of them. You know, that's just what I do at work. Anyways, so I found this story, and the type of facility that it is really stood out to me because it's something that I've heard of before, but I've never really researched or read about. It's one of those types of places that were designed with good intentions in mind, but were pretty miserable experiences for those who had to be held there. And what I'm speaking of is quarantine stations.
What?
Yeah. And more specifically, what my story is about is the location of the quarantine station, RQ station in Manly, Australia, just outside of Sydney.
Oh!
I'm taking you on a trip. Get ready. And just so we get this out there, it is spelled Manly. I pronounce it Manly. However, I knew somebody with the last name Manly and they had an E in there. So maybe maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. I don't understand why that E would make such a big difference. So I'm going to say Manly, Australia, and try not to say it too often so nobody notices if I'm saying it wrong. So.
And that's it. We're moving on.
The quarantine station was established primarily to regulate the risk of disease imported through the migration of free and convicted Europeans and arriving merchant ships. Up until the 1830s, the majority of ships requiring quarantine were convicted felon transport ships.
Wow.
And being under government contract, it was easy to enforce a quarantine on them. Nobody threw up a fuss. That was a part of the deal. But with the increase of free immigrant vessels entering into port, formal regulations for quarantine became necessary. In 1831, 34 immigrant ships had arrived, and this was increased to 63 ships in 1832. So it was bumping up. Everybody wanted to move to Australia for whatever reason, I guess.
I mean, it's a cool place. Kangaroos are happening, you know.
I would assume it had something to do with kind of like discovery that this land could be inhabited by more people than just the native people that already inhabited it. You know how Europeans do that thing. They just come in with their shit. And there were other areas of the country that were suffering from economic loss and everything, and or just war and everything had beat them down. So they were looking for like a new land. So you go to the colonies in the United States, or you go off to Australia. However, for all the right reasons, local government was concerned with this huge influx of people who just sailed for like 3 to 4 months at sea in close quarters, that they may be bringing more than just their luggage with them.
Weird, like diseases.
Absolutely. So often on these ships, there was a complete lack of checking passengers for health issues before boarding the ship, let alone keeping up with them while they were at sea. There was an insignificant concern with diet during the voyage, especially with the needs for children. Get this. They believed that for every 3 children, that equaled 1 adult's ration of food and sleeping space.
Wait, 1 kid got up to?
No, 3 children equaled 1 adult. So whatever 1 adult would eat or the amount of space that they would need to sleep, you could fit 3 kids into that space and feed them for the same thing. 3 fucking kids, not 2. Okay, like if they're small, you think like 2 kids maybe. At what age was the cutoff for kids at this point? Because my 12, going to be 13-year-old tomorrow is a fucking giant. Like,
right, yes.
And they still consider him a kid at 12 at the movie theater. So, I mean, like, that's an adult. Like, he eats as much as I do, if not more. And he's taller than I am.
And you have to pay more now. Sorry.
Yeah, now. Into that. And he has to take his shoes off at airports. So all that childlike activity just gone.
That's it.
So this led to excessive numbers of children cramped in spaces with inadequate amounts of food. Legislation began to require all ships entering port to be screened for disease and quarantined if necessary.
Ooh.
Original quarantine practices was to house the sick aboard the vessel on which they arrived, meaning that these commercial carriers would have to be held up in port until the sick had passed away or got better enough to enter into the country.
Wow.
So, of course, these captains of the ship complained about the financial loss because they weren't out at sea going to pick up more people and stuff like that. So they even asked for compensation for their time lost, and that became the end of that. So they stopped that practice in 1837, and after that time, the sick were removed from their ship and housed ashore. And this is what led to the building of the quarantine station at North Head in Manly. If ships entering the port had sick patients aboard, they were required to hoist a yellow flag before disembarking all patients, not just the infected ones, but all patients into the quarantine station.
So what if they didn't?
They would still go through the same process, and then they would eventually be let go once they were determined they were okay. But first, they had to be scrubbed down and washed, listen up, in carbolic acid showers.
That sounds terrible.
To kill the germs, fleas, and lice that they might have.
Oh, hold on. I might be down for that. If I've got lice and germs all over, okay, so go ahead and do whatever you got. Can you bring me back? Why were these people on this boat anyways, where they might be covered in lice, where they have to have these kind of baths done? I might have missed something here because I don't get it. Were there just lots of disgusting couches on other countries that they were just like, I'm going to burrow into this? And
no, apparently it's
just rub my body all over it.
It's just super nasty to be around a bunch of people. I'm just going to leave that sentence in there.
No shit. That's disgusting, man. You're talking about some kind of a chemical bath to wash these people off so that they can continue on with their journey. I'm like, okay, hold on.
This is not no Carnival cruise line. These people were pushed into really small spaces. I don't know, like they didn't have the most sanitary situations for their food, storage, and drinking water. And then depending on how long they were at sea, did they have enough good drinking water? Did everything keep the way it was supposed to keep? They're just trying to survive these long ass journeys. They couldn't, it wasn't a 7-day cruise. It was 4 months at sea. So it was rough. And these people were just trying to immigrate from an area where they had very little, or they were in kind of a scary situation, off to like somewhere where they thought they'd be free and be able to start a new life. Yeah.
So this is just what these poor people had to deal with. This is just something that life threw at them, basically.
Right. And listen, I've taken a lot of history over the years between elementary and high school and some college or whatever like that. But I will tell you, I am getting most of my ideas of what it's like for a voyage across sea from the show that I'm recently obsessed with called Outlanders. Just so you know, I'm just going to throw that out there. They just did this kind of thing from Scotland to Jamaica, and it was rough. Okay.
Outlanders?
Outlander. I keep putting an S on it. Sorry. Don't watch it. It's
okay.
like porn. It's but with a really great storyline.
But don't watch that shit.
You don't watch it.
I
you
wouldn't like
that.
it.
So. But yeah, they just like took a voyage from Scotland to Jamaica, and it was all about how the whole crew, if somebody gets sick, it's like it's gonna infest everyone. It's just gonna breed like that because they're in such like small quarters and everything. I don't really know. I'm speaking from my television experience. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So these people would be offloaded from the ships, and they would get these horrible fucking acid showers. Their luggage would be autoclaved, which I thought that's something that you do to like harden when you make pottery. So maybe I'm really wrong about that. I just don't understand how your luggage survives something like that, but that's what they did.
Wow.
And then of course they were kept away from Sydney residents for several weeks or months, just depending on whether they were showing signs and symptoms of some kind of issue.
Oh, man.
But not every year of the early days of the quarantine station saw such huge volumes of people. New rules were put into place aboard the immigrant ships, causing less issues of disease, and immigration itself just kind of slowed for a time. But in 1853, a ship of 1,000 passengers, this was like a double-decker ship or something, arrived and needed to be quarantined at the station, which was only designed to hold 150 people.
What? Then, like, the whole mall evacuates. And it's like 150 people, and now there's thousands of people there, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of folks.
Yep. With no place to put them. So with that, they had to build new buildings when they arrived. But even with that, they still had to have a bunch of people still camp in tents along the grounds around the quarantine station. 55 people died aboard the ship, and 62 died while at the quarantine station.
Holy crap.
Things like measles, scarlet fever, and typhoid fever.
Can you imagine? Like, this is it. You're just sitting there waiting. You catch one of those terrible diseases. You're one of the, what'd you say, 113, 120?
There's 1,000 people on this ship. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're doing the math. Good. Did you do that in your head?
But then you catch these are things that like are treatable nowadays. You get a shot or whatever, and these people didn't have that ability to go and get a shot because they're just sitting outside camp and waiting.
No, half the time they didn't even know what was going on with them. So when they say measles, scarlet fever, and typhoid, they might have just been guessing. It could have all been typhoid fever, and they were just like showing the signs of these other things. I'm not really sure.
Oh, no.
So, but this wasn't the facilities, the quarantine stations. This wasn't their biggest issue. Nope. The death and the scary, horrible diseases, that wasn't their biggest problem. It was the moral dilemma of the single female passengers living in these conditions. Stop. Because how dare virgins sleep in tents?
How dare they?
No. They need proper feather beds and no male interaction. They must stay pure and perfect all the time.
I mean, I kind of want that myself.
Well, it's too late for you.
I mean, that's no fair. I want a feather bed.
So they constructed new barracks for single women in the former sick grounds. I don't really know what that means.
Because they were sick.
No, I mean, I'm assuming that's where they used to house sick patients, but they just said grounds. They did say there were buildings there, but now they're putting all the chicks there. It was also, this is the best part. It's surrounded by a double fence with a guard station between them to prevent communication with the women. So these single women were all stuck off in this convent, basically.
Yeah.
So that they don't interact with any of these other people.
Because they want to remain virgins until they...
Forever.
No. Oh, okay.
Until they're well enough to enter into Australia. Then they can go fucking crazy. Doesn't matter.
Okay. So are they...
This would not be the sick ones.
I can't think of the word. Okay. But they've, like, kind of kept them off to the side like they were sick. Like, I can't think of the...
They quarantined them to make sure that they don't show signs and symptoms later on. Yes.
So it seems like the better way to go on this boat was to be like, I'm saving myself for whatever I find at marriage. So if you were, like, hip with this whole idea, you would be on the I'm the virgin scheme.
I think as long as you didn't show up with children or a man,
then
yeah.
Okay, then that would...
If you were like a widow, then yeah.
Right.
You could sit there and you could totally play that card.
Or mean. You could be like, good luck. Guys that used to be related to me, not anymore.
Don't call me mom. You're on your own.
Right. Like when I'm at Walmart and be like, I don't know who that kid is. Y'all take him. I'm going to get my sausages and get out of here.
Like when your kid is screaming, Mom, Mom. And you're like, I don't know who that kid is.
His face is all dirty and he's like, his hair is a mess. You're like, no, that is not my child.
Nope.
Don't look at me.
Not that we've ever done that. But, okay. So they also built 2 more buildings. They were built on the healthy ground. Again, don't really know what that means.
Oh.
But that's what it said on Wikipedia. So here we go. And they could house the 2 houses, 60 people at a time.
What?
Sounds a little cramped to me, but whatever. They also had a dining area as well.
The healthy ground.
Yeah, the healthy ground. The virgins got sent to the sick ground. And like the dudes, I guess, or married people got sent to the buildings on the healthy ground. I don't really know what's going on there. Like I said, it was just the way it was worded on the internet. I don't really know because I wasn't there. I'll time travel back and figure it out though.
This sounds like some Satanist kind of shit. The healthy That's weird, right? That they deem it like that.
Yeah, it was strange, like, because they didn't have buildings there. So does that mean that you were, like, tenting people in these areas? This was the tented sick area, and this was the tented health area, but now we're going to actually build some structures because we have all these people to take care of for months. I mean, that makes sense. I'm not really sure. Oops.
I like how you rolled your eyes. You're like, we got all these healthy people here, so I guess we got to take care of them.
But get this, it doesn't 100% make sense because the 2 buildings that they built on the healthy ground that housed the 60 people each, that was the spot of the original burial ground that was leveled and the gravestones removed to make room for the construction. And I say that with the biggest fucking eyes ever because, like, what the fuck? Why is this such a normal practice in all the stories that we read?
Nope. It should have been like, something odd seems to be amiss on the healthy ground. We should be inspecting this. Instead, everyone's like, it's cool. They bulldoze it, and it's a cemetery. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of suspicious.
Which also shouldn't make it the healthy ground because you just buried diseased people in the ground.
Is the cemetery now the healthy cemetery? Is that what they call it? Because that would be amazing. I would love to go. When we visit Australia next year,
this is happening.
That's right.
I'm just putting this out there. You said it first.
That's right.
So.
We won't podcast from there because that's not what we do. But
we're too
visit.
busy. We're busy having a good time. So 3 cemeteries function throughout the history of the station. The approximate location of the first cemetery, which was from 1837 to 1853, is at the junction of Wharf and Hospital Road. The second cemetery is, the second cemetery, which functioned between 1853 and 1881, is located east of the third-class precinct. 3 headstones remain in sight and 2 more obscured by vegetation. And the outline of another 2 graves are visible, but there's no markers. I don't even know what that means. Like, what do you mean an outline?
Yeah, right.
They're that old. There should be no outline of them. So that's concerning. And then the third cemetery from 1881 to 1925 is within the School of Artillery on Commonwealth property. 241 burials are registered, and the cemetery retains many of the headstones and markers, and it's protected by a chain link fence. So sadly, you can't get in there.
Does it have like the twisty barbed wire with like the razor?
No, it doesn't, as far as I know. Maybe they left that description off.
Sounds like it's accessible.
I can climb. So some of these headstones from the first and second cemeteries are on display within the grounds today.
Oh,
so that was
cool.
Nice of them.
Because that's old as shit.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that they didn't just cut them down and throw them away. Nope. Somebody left them somewhere and now they're on display.
I wonder if any more of them are on eBay. Because
no.
And in my home.
Your house. I think in New England nobody would care about that.
No, it's pretty typical out here.
Yeah. They're like, meh, you have a body in your yard. No big deal.
So what?
So
I've got 5.
It's a competition. So going back to the late 19th century, and after all that construction and the bulldozing of graveyards, there was then a downturn in immigration during the economically stagnant period of 1860s. So between 1860 and 1879, only 138 immigrant vessels arrived compared to the 410 between 1840 and 1859. So it had considerably slowed down. Not that many people, I just hit my mic, sorry. Not that many people were immigrating to Australia. And during that time period in the 1860s to almost 1880s, only 33 commercial ships and 29 merchant ships or naval ships required cleansing at the quarantine stations.
What type of cleansing? Would they go in there with sage and stuff? Would they? I need to know.
So they called it cleansing because not all of them had to be quarantined. Some of them just had to be highly inspected, basically, and kind of washed down. And then they were like, it's not that bad. It's not one of those real contagious ass diseases. You're good. Somebody had the flu.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, the flu sucks. I've had it as an adult and it's not fun.
It does. And it is contagious, but not as deadly.
Yes. Is it like everyone has lice on board and they're like flushing them out?
Yeah. So maybe it was like that. They were like, y'all just all gross. And they washed them off and then let them go. They're like, actually, nobody's sick. Y'all just dirty as fuck.
I prefer to think that everyone was like, we need to make sure there's no witches or ghosts on board. So we're going to take our sage and our crystals and we're just going to waft it here and there. And we're going to say our prayer and just hope for the best.
Way after that.
And
maybe that's what it was. They just went through a period at that time where they were only afraid of ghosts and witches.
I would love that.
We know lots of people like that. So,
yeah.
So, like I said, business had slowed. And maybe the idea of controlling diseases had become a part of these ships' kind of routine. They knew what to do to kind of keep the spread of shit down.
Man, this sounds so much like Pavalia to me.
Yeah. Well, the idea of a quarantine station, it still fits with that description, except for they were shipping people out of the cities. Like, these weren't people that were coming in on ships and had to be held. Kind of like, so if you move to another country, I don't know if they still do this, but you move to another country and it used to be that you, like not too long ago within our lifetime, if you were bringing a pet or something, your pet would have to be held for a certain amount of time to make sure it didn't have diseases.
No.
So they were doing this with people, but in Italy and for Prevelia, they were shipping those fucking diseased people and like put them over there, so so as people became more knowledgeable about this shit, the issue of abandoning quarantine stations was raised again in 1882. And in his report on the issue, the new health officer, C.H. McAkeller, dismissed the suggestion and even went a step further and said there should be more quarantine stations at other harbors, not just Sydney, and also requested improvements be made to the Q station in Manly, which was approved and completed.
I wonder why. Like, why did he feel like suddenly more quarantines were necessary?
I don't know if he was fucking psychic or super paranoid. Maybe he's a hypochondriac. I'm not really sure, but they were totally on board with everything he said because during the periods of 1901 to 1940, Sydney and Melbourne had roughly similar numbers of immigrants, around 135,000 to 116,000 each.
Shit, that's still a lot of people coming in.
A lot. People still migrating to Australia, yeah. By 1958, there were 39 first ports of entry in Australia. 32 seaports had staff capable of carrying out quarantine inspections, and there were landing places for air entry. Major quarantine stations with accommodations, such as the one in Manly, were established at 5 ports, and there were 3 minor quarantine stations at other ports, which, if you're doing the math with me, that I am aware that totally doesn't add up right. That's 40 stations, and they said there were 39 stations, but the internet doesn't lie, right? I mean, I cut, copy, and paste that shit, so don't blame me.
And honestly, I wasn't doing the math with you. I was still thinking of the animals in Australia that we could see.
I'm hoping everybody else is paying attention to that and doesn't realize how I noticed it, though, because I was like, wait, dun, counting on my fingers. And I'm like, that's not right, but I don't really know what they're getting at. Anyways, with the impact of improved medical science, immunization, and quarantine procedures in the 20th century, the need for quarantine dramatically plummeted. The best example of this is the fact that the post-World War II immigration to Sydney received nearly 700,000 immigrants between 1946 and 1980.
Holy
nearly
shit.
Double the amount they received from 1931 to 1940. So like in their whole existence before that, this was double the numbers after World War II.
Wow.
Yet,
yeah, that's a lot of damn
only 4 ships required quarantine in that period. So that's good.
Oh, yeah, I assume so. Either that or the people are just like, fuck it, this is too many people to have to, sage and crystallize. I mean, that's too many damn people.
They were just like, fuck it.
It's good. Just pass.
So I'm sure there's some shot or something you can get on the other side.
They'll get their shot. It'll look like some crazy shit happened to their arm for years and years and years, and they'll be like, you don't have the crazy, face on your arm for whatever? Nope. I got it.
Hold the fuck up. You've never watched that show Outlander, have you?
No, I've never seen it. Why do they talk about the measles shot or whatever?
They do. It's a smallpox vaccination. It left a mark on their arm, which I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't know that?
No.
Wait a second. My mom has it. And when my aunt and my uncle were up here, I was just reminded of it because I saw it on their arm. It looks like someone fucking took you a cigar and like on their arm. They all have it.
That's so crazy that you brought it up though. Because that's a big deal in the show is the main chick is from 1946 and she has the scar, but a chick from 1968 and I might be getting that a little off, but she went back in time, and she also has the same scar. And so that's how they knew, like, that they must have both have been from, like, the past and from time, is they both had this ugly ass scar, and that's 20 years apart, you know? So, like, at what point did they stop putting this ugly ass scar on people? Because I've had a measles shot or a small, I don't know about
I don't have any
smallpox,
ugly ass
but
scar.
like, I've had all my shots, and I have no scars on my arm.
So, about the measles shot. So nobody in your family has had that on, you don't ever see that on their arms?
I never noticed that.
But still, like, even when I moved to Tennessee, I'd noticed that I hadn't seen that on people's arms, so I always just assumed it was a Chicago thing.
Which in my show, all those people are from, like, Boston, Massachusetts area as well.
Whoa.
So
Interesting.
But I doubt it. I mean, I would imagine usually health things are kind of universal. So
yeah, for sure.
Especially when it comes to vaccines, I would assume.
I might have to look into this show.
No, there's so much porn.
No, okay. Not something I can watch. Gotcha.
I don't know if you're secretly into that and you just don't want to admit it. It's more romantic than Game of Thrones, which I know the first season of Game of Thrones really was like, you were
not
like,
romantic.
Nope.
No, that's not romance.
It's not romantic. So Outlander is more romantic. It is. Okay. So anyways, back to this whole quarantine station situation.
Yeah.
Only 4 ships had to be quarantined in the period from 1946 to 1980. So in all, between 1828 to 1984, that's how long this thing operated, at least 580 vessels were quarantined at the quarantine station in Manly. More than 13,000 people.
Holy shit.
Yes. Well, it's a long period of time.
No kidding. It's over 100 years.
More than 13,000 people were quarantined. And it's an estimated that 572 people had died at the quarantine station and are buried there.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Really? Like, do they have graves?
In those 3 cemeteries, yes. The accumulation of all of them, however, 2 of them not marked very well.
Can we go to Australia?
Yes. It's the whole reason I'm telling you this story. I just trying to, juice you up to where I want to go.
I'm ready.
This station was Australia's longest continuously operated quarantine station. The soft sandstone that the station set on served as the permanent diary as patients who arrived from all corners of the world carved unique messages and images into the surrounding rock.
Wow.
So there's sandstone all over the place, and people would carve messages into them.
I wonder if these people were prepared, like while they're on the boat, they're like, yeah, we got to figure out what our message is going to be when we get there. They're like
when you're thinking of what your senior, like, yearbook.
But you're just like, how can I leave my mark so that others come and see this? And then, like, someone puts, like, a cross. Okay, good. I get that, sure. And then someone puts, like, peace, love, and tacos. Okay, fine, whatever. You're trendy. Sure, whatever, fine.
Tacos are classic.
Yeah. I love tacos as well. When you get to the island for your first time, like, what do you put in the sandstone?
Something stupid, I'm sure. My senior high school quote is a Sublime quote.
Seriously? So, you got to use quotes for your senior high school thing?
Yeah. In the yearbook, you didn't have, like, a senior quote that went with, like, your picture or whatever?
No, I didn't have a senior quote.
Nope. That was a standard thing in ours. So
you picked a Sublime quote. What was it? Do you remember what song it was?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I can't even remember. Like, I don't know. When I was that age, I knew, like, every word to every Sublime song, and now I'm an old lady. I can't even remember what my fucking high school quote was. Where were we about this station? So, back to our story. The sandstone. So right by the ocean there where they come into port and everything like that, and where they built up the Q station or the quarantine station. It was all on sandstone rock, and it was really easy to carve shit into it. So thousands of carved sandstone engravings record the diverse culture and social backgrounds, as well as varying experiences of quarantine passengers.
Oh.
The book, Stories from the Sandstone, is an accumulation of a 3-year project run by the Department of Archaeology at the University of Sydney, which integrated the work of archaeologists, historians, and heritage practitioners to investigate these engravings left behind at the quarantine station.
Man, did you ever want to be an archaeologist?
I want to be a drunk archaeologist.
I know, me too. Oh, that's a new podcast. Drunk archaeology. Here we go.
Why didn't we name it that? This stupid fucking creatures of the night. Anyways, I want to be an archaeologist now that I'm so much into the research of these things. I don't know if when I was a kid, I always loved animals. So I was like super into like wanting to do anything with animals. But yeah, like now as an adult and we talk about all these past things and everything, it's like I just envy with all my heart, Josh Gates and stuff. So I had a dream about him the other day. Since we were talking about dreams earlier and I told you how much I loved them, I had a dream where you and I were running around with Josh Gates. And I just referred to him as like Josh. This is Joshua. And then I called him Josh.
Because it's like we're on a first name basis now.
Yeah, we were like working together. That's why I enjoy my dreaming so much.
I want dreams like that.
Josh Gates. I love every minute of it.
Not fair.
I'd say you should watch more TV, but I think you probably watch as much as I do.
Actually, I don't. So maybe that is the problem. I don't. When I came home the other day and I was like, I'm fucking exhausted. Let's read this book about Ted Bundy. So.
You don't want to dream about him. So.
No. But I'm trying to get through this book. So anyways.
Okay. So this project about this book, what was it called? The Stories in the Sandstone. That project uncovered countless journeys, many linked to Australia's immigrant past, including stories from Scots, Finns, New Zealanders, Chinese, Turkish, and Indonesian arrivals. Today, the quarantine station is a part of Sydney Harbour National Park and also houses, get this, a fancy fucking hotel.
Oh, is it a haunted hotel?
Well, duh. So the hotel is called simply the Q Station. It has fine dining, water activities, and wildlife viewing. Adorable side note, Little Collins Beach has the only known mainland NSW, which stands for New South Wales, breeding ground for endangered penguins.
What?
So yeah, you can go to this place and there, not too far from it is Little Beach of Penguins, and the colony is protected by volunteers each breeding season to control predators. Another side note, this is a horrible, sad side note. This protection by volunteers is greatly needed after there was a massacre. In 2015, there was a fox attack to the penguin village, and 27 penguins lost their lives. It depleted the population. As far as I know, there are no sightings of ghost penguins, though. However, there are stories of haunted phenomenons in the remaining buildings of the quarantine station and along the grounds, dating back more than a century. So, centuries ago, when the Q station, our quarantine station, was still in operation, the nurses working like the night shift claimed that they saw a ghostly man with a long ponytail wandering the wards and the verandas. The nurses would see this person, and then when they would go to investigate to see if it was a patient that had simply just gotten out of their room or something like that, they would find no one there.
Oh, shit.
Once they followed it, it's like it just disappeared. More recently on site, park rangers have reported ghostly figures and lights in the unoccupied hospital, but upon investigation, again, there's no one there.
Whoa.
Other common tales are of a ghostly girl, like a little girl. They call Mariana. She has blonde hair, and she likes to hold tourists' hands and lead them along the paths.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Sadly, many ghost children have been seen at the Q station. It's said they often appear most to other children that are visiting or staying at the hotel. One story is of a little boy named Isaac Lowe's, who is frequently seen. It's documented that he died on August 24th, 1878 of scarlet fever, which was a common killer before the discovery of antibiotics. Both with Mariana and Isaac, their identities were discovered through EVP sessions done by guests and employees over the years. That's how they've accumulated, or maybe accumulated's the wrong word, but it's how they've deduced that it might be these two people because they've repeatedly gotten those names.
First of all, I have to point out the fact that you just said deduced. Just let's get that over with.
Favorite word. Yeah.
Before that, you said that employees have figured out this guy's name. So, holy shit, these aren't even paranormal investigators. They're not ghost hunters. These are employees or guests.
Yes, it's from what I can tell, it's not heavily investigated by other paranormal investigators. However, I should mention, and I say this a little later on, there has been one big group that has gone there. And then they do nightly ghost tours.
Okay.
So the tour guides for these ghost tours have investigated a lot of time into this, and it is readily available for anybody interested in the paranormal to experience their nightly ghost tours. And they also have overnight ghost tours that you can purchase.
Gotcha.
So, and that's where they've gotten these names from, because they were so confident about it. I was like, well, how do you know that it's Isaac Lowe's or whatever? So I researched that a bit more, and it's just people have gotten that name several times, and they connected it to records. They've gotten Isaac or whatever, and they connected it to this one person. But ghostly children aren't the only spirits seen here. Many employees, tour guides, and guests have reported seeing a shadow figure of a female in a long dress that walks along the grounds. One visitor on a tour at night swore she saw a female spirit, but of course, as she turned around to get a better look, there was nothing there. There's a theater room that is said to be haunted by a cranky male spirit. This person likes to make people feel uncomfortable. And I don't know if he just gets around or if there are multiple pissy men haunting the quarantine station. But a dark male spirit has also been reported by multiple sources in this little house that's on the grounds. It's like a little house set up to be a part of the nightly ghost tour, but you don't stay in it or anything like that. I think it's got some furniture in it or whatever. It's part of their tour, but it's not like a room you could rent necessarily.
Gotcha.
More than one person has reported the feeling of a tall man that will stand over them and then make them feel so uncomfortable that they have to leave the house, that they just have to get outside.
I would be that guest.
From what so it was a tour guide that said that he hates going in there, and then it was also this whole blog that I read by a lady that she seems somewhat sensitive, but she had an experience in there, and then she asked the tour guide about it. And he was like, "Oh my God, I have the same experience," or whatever. Tour guide's name was Chris, by the way, just like yours. So in that house, there's also sounds of whispering and knocking sounds being heard in there. Then many, many people have reported negative feelings in the shower block as well. Some report seeing a dark male shadow. Others report voices, orbs, footsteps, you fucking name it. This little area of the station has it all.
I don't like the shower block.
Nope, this is where those acid showers were happening. So not a fun experience, and nobody wants to really be in there. Many people are so uncomfortable in this room, they can't even walk through the whole building. I saw that in multiple blogs and posts and stuff like that. I guess there's a halfway point to this place, so they would walk halfway down the walkway of showers, and they vamp fucking out halfway through the building. Like very few people could make it through the whole thing.
Oh, it seems like such a dark and twisted part of so many people's lives that you just don't want to experience that. You just want to run through it.
Yeah, I hope to do this story one day, but on the Queen Mary that's docked in Long Beach, California, there's an area that they're like stalls. I mean, they look like showers, and it's
Yeah.
right behind the pool. So they're like dressing rooms to the pool. And as we walked through them, I felt fucking sick. And the tour guide, because it was just me and my other half and the tour guide, and I was like pausing and stopping because it was hitting me so hard, not hitting my other half hard like that. But the tour guide was like, yeah, that happens to a lot of people. There's so many doorways situation. And I think something about the ground being uneven. And then he took us into this little cubby hole. I don't know. But when they talked about this shower block, I kept thinking about that. And I was like, the uncomfortableness of so many places where something could be hiding behind it does make you paranoid. But the fact that so many fucking people said that.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
It's that feeling when something weird is going on and something could be lurking over your shoulder. That energy is probably still there if so many people at that time felt it. And as you know, you as a person coming in and exploring or whatever, you probably were tuned into that type of a feeling. I'm just saying that there's a lot of different connections here that are going on where your tour guide was just like, no, so what? So many people feel this, whatever. Your husband probably didn't tune into it. His curiosity level isn't on that peak where, if someone who is into the paranormal would tune into it.
Yeah, I don't know, like what he was saying, what the tour guide was saying made so much sense. It was like, yeah, small spaces, lots of doors. That always makes me really paranoid. And then at the same time, I was like, fuck all of y'all. Y'all don't know what it really feels like to feel everybody's emotions. And I do. And it's just like, something's not right. And people claim on the Queen Mary in that same area, people have complained about a lot of negative experiences, emotions as well. And so is it the small cramped little door spaces, or is there something really going on that certain people can't pick up but others can? I don't know.
Right. You don't.
But multiple people complained about this shower area. And they were so uncomfortable they couldn't even walk through the whole building, including some of the tour guides who are there all the time. I even found this cool, but I have to say questionable, since I don't know the source that it came from, but a very cool picture of a very clear dark shadow of what you would assume is a male with a long coat and a wide brim hat. And they say there is another figure next to the man, possibly a child, as it is smaller, but it's not as clear either, so it's hard to say.
Wow, that's spooky. Dark shadow, long coat, wide brim hat. I mean, that sounds like Wild West stuff. Did they have that in Australia?
Yes. Sounding so confident about it. Yes. I've never been to Australia. So I just sent you the picture, and this is of the shower block. And if you'll like click on it and then zoom in, you see at the end, it looks like a dude in front of a door, and then
Stop it. This shit is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So remember, like, we have a picture from Waverly Hills that is something like this.
Yeah, we do.
Like, and our picture's legit. So this picture can be legit, but it's so much like, that's a fucking person standing at the end of the hallway. You almost want to I don't know who this came from. It could be, Bob the Liar.
Even if it's from Bob the Liar, this picture is terrifying. Everyone is out there looking for ghosts, and he's just fucking looking to you, hey, what's up? What's going on? That's fucking bullshit. Bob the Liar, don't put this shit on the internet because that's bullshit. And then there's the chick from The Ring who's creepy crawling down there next to him on the corner. who looks like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
She's just like, what the fuck is that? I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, a lot of people were interpreting that as a child next to them, but I'm like, I don't know if I'd call it a child. But it's definitely a blob next to the person, and it's shorter than the person, but it just looks like a blob. So
I mean,
that is definitely not as clear as Bob.
I have to say, this looks like anything that we would have captured from our time at Waverly, but when you zoom in, you see like he's got reflective shit on his head, and he's got reflective shit on his, like, above his shoulder, like just beyond him. And that's not his head either. It's like, it's the doorway. It's like he's blocking out whatever is there. And there's someone behind the doorway, like peeking around. That is not a person, guys. When I'm looking at this picture, that thing peeking beyond the doorway, that sack of potatoes that I was just telling you, that's the fucked up thing. Not the guy that's on the other side. I really do think that the guy with the hat and the coat or whatever, he's like watching you, making sure that you don't have to encounter this haunted sack of potatoes that's going to come after you and kill you. I'm just saying.
That's the best description. The sack of potatoes. The evil sack of potatoes.
And they're saying, so this picture that you sent me, they're saying, dude wasn't there. That's extra. And also, evil sack of potatoes was extra.
Yeah, they say nobody was down that hallway. They were just taking pictures down that hallway. They do nightly ghost tours. I mean, so there's probably a night that there's not that many people on the investigation or whatever.
I'd have to say, if I took that picture, I would never go on an investigation ever again. Because that's
the end.
Creepy as fuck.
That's messed up. It's a really good photo, and that's why my like asshole self is very skeptical of it. But we, we'll definitely share it, and so you can give your opinion of it. Also, this place has earned such a reputation that Ghost Hunters, your favorite, Ghost Hunters International, actually investigated this location, and they received several voices in the area of the shower block, which they heard like in real time with their own ears. I always feel weird about saying your own ears, but yeah, they heard it. I don't know how else to describe it. As they're investigating, they hear voices and they hear like sounds, and they note it, and then later play it back, and sure enough, it was an EVP of some kind, but it was so loud they heard it at the time that it was happening. And they even heard a door closing, and they claim, well, nobody was near it. I know that for sure. And then they claim that there was no wind happening at the night that they were investigating. So the hospital is another active location on the grounds. People have reported voices. Some visitors feel sick or sharp pains while in the hospital, but feel 100% better once they step outside. One visitor even heard a growl. Another smelled, I mean, but this is mixed emotion. So one heard a growl, but then another smelled perfume that possibly came from the nurses that once worked there. Kind of like that residual energy left over. So demons and, just positive energy,
Good smelling demons. I'll take that.
Ooh, maybe. I found one photo from the internet. This one is not as clear as the other one I just shared with you, but to me, it makes it more believable because it looks like some shit that we would get. It's also super zoomed in, so it's a little grainy, but it's like a figure standing in the crack of a doorway. You can somewhat make out like shoulders and hands, or arms, I should say, and a body. But yeah, this is like our quality type evidence.
I have to even put my glasses up on my head for this one. I can see like the misty figure there right in the doorway.
Yeah, I mean, there's something in the crack of that door.
Yeah.
That probably shouldn't be there.
There's something fuzzy there in the doorway. Yes, the picture is grainy. It's got to be what? I mean, 1990s, 1999. I mean, early 2000s level, because like it's all like pink and purple, like it's pixelated as crazy, right? I mean, it's what year is this from, Wendy?
I don't know. I didn't look into that. I was just like, yep, that looks like some shit
Yep.
we would get. Present day.
Yeah, no.
I felt like this was just somebody that went on a tour and they got this picture and they were like, look at that shit. There shouldn't have
There is
been
something
anything in
there.
the crack of that door.
Yeah.
Nobody should have been on the other side of it. So I was
It
like,
does.
yeah, I could totally sympathize. This is fantastic evidence. Go you.
That's great, Wendy. I'm glad you said that. I have more pictures to send you from our. But seriously, when you're looking at this picture, you can, I mean, not zooming in. Do not zoom in. Just look at the picture as itself. You can see a head, the upper torso, and an arm kind of like, reaching out into the doorway because it's kind of blocking out whatever's supposed to be there. There's like a bottom torso, but it's so much more obscured because of the grain and the shit. It gets obsoleted, but you definitely see something which appears to be reaching out in the picture here.
Yeah, the description of the picture was that it was a entity, I guess, or some shadow figure that was closing the door behind it. So meaning that its arm would be behind it, pulling the door with it type situation, and that would make sense about how you were talking about the arm is or something is crossing over and it's pulling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how you described it, in my opinion.
When you were reading the description of whoever took that picture, did they say that the door had shut behind them or anything crazy like that? Or?
No, none of that happened. They just described the picture as an entity that looks like it was closing the door behind it. So they must have saw it as if their arms behind them pulling on the door.
Yeah.
Like you kind of just saw it too. So that's interesting.
That's what it looks like to me.
Because I'm like, yeah, I see a blob there. That's how I describe the photo.
He's like, you guys might not want to go in that bathroom. Let me just shut this door. Hold on.
It's pretty awful. No. So, many call the Manly Quarantine Station the most haunted location in all of Australia.
Yup.
And it's not hard to see why. The unfortunate souls who never got to leave, who traveled so long in search of a new life, but died from deadly diseases of the day, which vary from the bubonic plague, smallpox, cholera, tuberculosis, typhoid fever, and the Spanish influenza.
Jesus Christ.
I had a lot of trouble saying influenza earlier.
That was a whole lot of diseases.
So hard. Thank God they don't exist anymore, really.
That's just the
unless
flu.
You don't immunize your children. Their last few weeks, days, and hours would have been spent in excruciating pain in the hospital ward, cut off from family members, even having their last rites read before their death.
Damn.
Meaning that the healthy people were too in fear of being around the diseased person, so they would not, like priests and whatnot, would not go there to read them their last rites. A well-known case at the station was that of a 27-year-old volunteer nurse, Anna Egger, who contracted influenza while nursing sick soldiers returning home from the First World War in 1918. She made repeated requests for a Roman Catholic priest to administer the last rites, but were denied by authorities, and she died December 3rd without ever having her final wishes granted.
Damn.
Miss Eggers, not cool.
Not cool.
Usually. Like, if somebody's so concerned with that stuff.
Yeah, she's super into religion, too, and she's like, please, 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 please. And they're just like, whatever, we'll get to it, whatever. And she dies.
Or just flat out no, because we don't have any priests that have been immunized for a disease that, we're not familiar with. Miss Eggers' final resting place can still be visited in the quarantine station's only surviving cemetery.
What? Oh.
The third cemetery is the only surviving one, and Miss Eggers' remains is still there.
Oh, shit. Let me flip this
These
page.
are just a few of the reasons why many believe that the site is such a hot spot for paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Q Station is working to redefine the full story of the quarantine station, which has never thoroughly been recorded. You know what a day-to-day life was like for persons held at the quarantine station. That's never really been recorded. So the Q Station Hotel, we're going to call it that, is working to redefine that story. And they believe that the real record of history is found in the lives of the ordinary people who lived it. So if you or anyone you know has experienced any time at the quarantine station, because it didn't close until 1984, so those persons can still be alive. So if you or anyone you know spent time at the quarantine station in Manly, Australia as a quarantine person, then you should go to the Q Station's website and submit your story to be included in their collection of historic facts about the location. And if you happen to have a paranormal story, that's a totally different thing. If you have a paranormal story from the Q Station or the quarantine station, please go to any of our forms of social media and message us. That is COTN_paranormal on Instagram and COTN paranormal, no underscore, on Facebook and Twitter also. Or you can email us directly at thecreaturesofthenight@gmail.com.
Yeah. Damn, Wendy. You just went right for it. That's insane. That whole story was bonkers. Look. I've always wanted to go to Australia. I love it. I think it's beautiful. I love the whole area. And then there's this whole, I don't want to plug because she doesn't need it, but Amy's Crypt YouTube video. I don't know if you've ever checked her out.
God, you stopped that. I watched
She's
that.
amazing.
I didn't know anything about it until this story. And you already know about her?
Yes, I love her. Yeah, she's like some of our stuff.
I totally watched her stuff on the Q Station and oh my God, she's just so cool. I was like, I'm going to follow this bitch. I want to know everything she's doing. The guys, I just love it.
And I'm not trying to turn this into a plug, but I think she's awesome. I love her stuff. So.
Well, it's not a plug because she's not paying us, but.
Right, nobody is.
But if you want to send a coupon our way, for a store in Australia or something, I mean,
whatevs.
Can we say it's a house?
Airbnb? We're totally down for that.
Can we rent a room from you, Amy? Please.
Come on.
No, I watched her stuff too, and because I watched Ghost Hunters International and her stuff, and then I was like, I don't think I need to watch anything, but there was anything else, but there was plenty other little clips out there. Lots of people have investigated this location. It's really cool. I loved all the blogs that I read because they kind of correlated with other people's stories, so it seemed so realistic. Yeah. Because so many people were experiencing the same thing. But yeah, Amy was so much fun. I loved watching her video.
That's so funny that you did that.
So that's funny that you discovered her too. I didn't even know that. We've never talked about it.
No, we haven't.
We don't sit there and talk about everyone that we follow individually on Instagram and whatnot or something like that.
True, but I do get excited because I've seen her stuff on YouTube and I've seen her stuff on Instagram. So when she started liking our stuff, I was like beating on my husband's face while he's driving. Oh my God, listen to me I'm SpongeBob. And she's like, stop touching me. I'm like, no, you have to understand. This Amy's Crypt just like our stuff.
Yeah, she has a YouTube presence that we haven't mastered.
100%.
For sure. like we said in other podcasts, we're really bad at recording shit because we get so into what we're doing. We're like, never mind us. Let's focus on what we're doing.
So, if you have an experience and you want to share it with us, reach out to us on one of those Instagram or Twitter or Facebook pages so that we can share your experience.
Yeah, so it's not just open to any Australian stories or the Q Station stories, though that's what this podcast is about. You can actually take advantage of those forms of social media, direct messaging, or emailing us anytime that you just feel like there's something you want to share. So we're not just closed-minded of like, bitch, that wasn't what our story was about it this week. Negative,
nope.
You're delete. No, we're going to read any paranormal stories. That's how obsessed we are. But we also want to tell you, please keep in mind, if you are planning a stay at the Q Station Hotel or a visit to the old quarantine station site, they have several historic and ghost tours to enjoy. My pick would be the overnight ghost experience, which is offered by the hotel, which I'm pretty sure means that you get to sleep in like the hospital or the morgue area, like, camp style in like sleeping bags or whatever, or something amazing like that. But when you're planning these amazing trips, don't forget to arm yourself with protection products from our shop, not anybody else's shop, just our shop, to keep you safe from those pissy spirits in the shower block or other locations.
You don't want those guys.
Right. Also, on Ghost Hunters International, the woman that they interviewed before their investigation said that there was a lot of incidents of physical attacks from spirits. I did not include that in my story because I didn't find any personal experiences like that, and that didn't happen while on the show. So I don't know if she was trying to beef it up or if those just happened to not been documented on the internet. Who the fuck knows? But
hey, wait a second. What did the ghost hunters catch?
They catch voices. They're more vocal than the regular ghost hunters, just so you know. The Ghost Hunter Internationals was more like, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
They were just like, it's late. Let's sit on the couch.
Nothing's happening. The end. No, they were pretty into it, and they claimed of a lot of experiences happening, hearing things and whatnot. But it was just like kind of like that. Like they kept hearing things off in the distance. They did get EVPs and stuff like that, but they didn't get it. That's about all the evidence that they got. None of them were physical attacks. However, you never know. Maybe those spirits were just camera shy that night. Maybe they just weren't in the mood for it. I don't know.
Yeah, true. You never know what you're going to come across. That's the whole thing about paranormal investigating. It's not like on cue. So many people expect for it to just happen at the exact same moment it's happened for other people, and that's not how it works.
They don't have that instant gratification, so they're out the door, and anything after that, they're like already written off because it should have happened the moment they asked for.
Right.
So yeah, I get it. And, they might have moved away from situations that prevented them from being in harmful situations. Maybe the spirits just weren't up for it that night. Maybe that lady made up a bunch of stuff. But, do you want to run that risk, or do you want to just go in protected?
No.
So
there's no risk
just beyond the
that I want to run in Australia.
There's just no need for it. So you don't want it to ruin your entire vacation. So visit our Etsy shop again.
That's right.
Plug. Don't forget to visit our Etsy shop, The Spirit Emporium, or you can also go to our website, Creatures of the Night Paranormal, and you can arm yourself with those protection type items before you go into investigation. So one more fun photo to share with you. And of course, we will share all these on social media, but the Q Station Hotel does wedding events. And during a wedding, a ghost hand was caught in a photo.
Okay, I got your pictures. Okay, so this looks like a white gloved hand reaching out towards Chicky in pink dress, who happens to be looking directly at the camera.
That is interesting that you note that. I just noticed that. So this is a photo of a wedding, and then there is a white streak in front of the bride and groom, and there's a bridal party around there. And I mean, I would just write this off as someone or something has moved in front of the camera very fast, and that's what caused the streak, except for the fact that there are fucking fingers.
Yeah, that's
like you can see the outline of 4 fingers, and you just assume there's a thumb somewhere in there or behind it.
Right.
Yeah, you can count out 4 fingers. It's just very odd. And so that's something that circulates around the internet associated with this location. And since it has fingers, it's pretty impressive.
It's a very interesting wedding photograph. I wonder what the bride felt about this picture. I wonder if there was someone in her party
that was trying to stop it.
Well, not even that, but maybe somebody that she really wanted to have been there with her, because she's walking up to the party. Everyone's kind of like, yay, we're all cute. We're in our dresses. We're in our suits, our tuxes, whatever. Everyone's looking around. To me, in this photo, she's walking with her dad. You don't usually walk up to the priest or whatever with your husband. You walk up with your father. So I assume that's who she's walking with. But then there's this mysterious gloved hand that appears out of nowhere in the photo that I'm looking at. I don't think that the mysterious gloved hand is an ex-lover. It might be someone who wanted to be there with her.
Yeah, like a family member, a grandfather, grandmother, something like that that didn't get to participate in the event.
Right. Somebody, which is funny because you said that, but maybe it's somebody who doesn't think that this should go through. Maybe you should hold on a second. It is an interesting photo. Her dress is very cute. Her bridesmaids, I wouldn't have gone with pink, but everyone's got their own taste.
Yeah. Not my pick. It's what my sister put us in. I think that was.
Oh, you were in pink too?
Yeah, my niece, I think, had picked that. She's a girly girl, so that happens. It was a very nice dress, though.
You had a cute dress.
Mm-hmm. I look good in it. That's all I care about. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you. The end. The Q station in Australia. I want to go there. Just putting that out there.
I think that would be amazing. And I don't know, maybe we can YouTube from Australia, because people do that, according to Amy's Crypt. She does it.
If she wants to let us stay at her house, if she's listening, wink, wink.
No.
No, maybe not.
So she and her husband are off touring the whole world because apparently they have money to do that. So they just...
Well, if they need a place to stay in Arizona or New Hampshire.
Full-fledged.
Lucky them. No, I just thought it was a really cool story, and I'm a big fan of stuff that comes from Australia as well. So I'd love to visit this one day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where we make it big.
Yeah. Number 100 episode. Maybe we'll be out of the country. Doubt it.
Whatever. It's fun to still explore haunted locations right here from our desk.
There's tons to explore, but I'd love to go to Australia. It's awesome.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. This was a cool story to do. I just loved reading about something so exotic, it seemed like, but I could pronounce most of the words.
It's funny that you say that, because exotic for us is like Iowa. So guys, check into more of our podcasts, because we do this weekly, even though, sometimes we do it 4 weeks in advance.
But not this time.
Nope, not this time. We're doing it weekly. So
yeah. Oh, find us on anywhere you find podcasts, and please rate and review our podcast, or we're going to keep rambling on if nobody stops us. You understand? Please rate and review iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all of that stuff.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all. I don't have anything because I didn't do this podcast. It was you.
Yeah. I was about to say, no, me neither.
Sweet.
I totally did this story.
That was you.
Anyways, good night.
Good night. Bye.
Goodbye.